In a world divided by borders, there lies a land wrapped in silence, a place few have seen and even fewer understand. North Korea, where mist clings to emerald mountains, ancient temples whisper prayers to forgotten gods, and city lights fade into the rhythm of discipline and mystery. Beneath its surface lies a story untouched by time of faith, resilience, and beauty hidden behind walls of secrecy. This is not the North Korea the world knows. This is the one the earth remembers. A land of sacred mountains and endless seas, where tradition breathes and the past still walks beside the present. Tonight, we step beyond the headlines and into the heart of the unseen kingdom. Welcome to North Korea like you've never seen. North Korea, not through politics, but through landscapes, traditions, and humanity. Explore the capital, Pyongyang. From the monumental architecture of Kim Il-sung Square to the serene banks of the Taedong River, capture the feeling of mystery and order as the city reveals its quiet rhythm of life. Beneath the headlines, beyond the silence, there exists a land few have truly seen, a place shrouded in mystery and discipline, where time feels suspended between the past and the present. North Korea, a name that often conjures politics and secrecy, but behind that image lies something more profound. The rhythm of a people, the poetry of landscapes, and an architecture that echoes the will of an entire nation. Today, we travel beyond the borders of perception into the heart of one of the world's most enigmatic lands to discover North Korea like you've never seen it before. Our journey begins in Pyongyang, the capital that defines both the grandeur and the contradictions of this nation. As you approach from the air, you see a city carved with precision-wide avenues cutting through monumental architecture and buildings painted in pastel hues that seem frozen in time. The skyline rises not with glass towers, but with marble monuments and pyramidal structures that carry the weight of ideology and pride. The Ryugyong Hotel, towering like a crystal spear into the clouds, reflects the ambitions of a country that seeks to stand tall in its own way, unfinished, mysterious, yet undeniably mesmerizing. In the early morning, the Taedong River runs quietly through the heart of Pyongyang, mirroring the calm discipline of the city. On its banks, citizens walk in unison, their movements measured and intentional. There's no rush, no chaos, only the rhythm of an ordered life. The Juche Tower stands proudly on the river's east side, its eternal flame burning high, symbolizing self-reliance, a concept that defines not just policy, but the spirit of its people. From its summit, Pyongyang stretches endlessly, a city of symmetry, precision, and purpose. As the sun rises higher, the monumental Kim Il-sung Square comes alive. Rows of citizens march with perfect coordination, the square itself designed to hold hundreds of thousands. Here, history, architecture, and ideology merge into one seamless performance. Yet, step away from the central avenues, and you'll find quiet neighborhoods, tree-lined streets, small markets, and children playing near apartment courtyards. It's in these moments, in these glimpses of ordinary life, that North Korea begins to reveal its humanity, soft, real, and quietly beautiful. Subway stations deep beneath the earth tell another story. Mosaics of bright reds, golds, and blues shimmer under chandeliers, depicting workers, farmers, and dreamers. The Pyongyang metro feels like a time capsule, ornate, pristine, echoing with the sounds of distant trains. Each platform looks more like a palace hallway than a public station. Here, propaganda murals blend with artistry, and despite the ideological weight, one can't deny the craftsmanship, the pride in every brushstroke, every tile. At noon, the scent of warm food fills the air. Small canteens serve bowls of naengmyeon, cold buckwheat noodles, and kimchi, sharp, tangy, and fiery. It's a reminder that, beneath all its systems, this nation is sustained by culture, taste, and tradition passed down for generations. Meals are shared quietly, and laughter, though rare in public, finds its place in private corners. But Pyongyang is more than its surface. As night falls, the city transforms. Streetlights flicker on, revealing an eerie beauty, dark avenues illuminated by soft neon glows. The Arch of Triumph, taller than its Parisian counterpart, shines with marble whiteness under the night sky. It commemorates victory and unity, yet it also symbolizes endurance, a monument to persistence in isolation. From here, the distant hum of the city fades into the stillness of the night, interrupted only by the echoes of marching songs and the soft footsteps of late-night workers returning home. Everywhere you look, there is balance between silence and sound, discipline and beauty, rigidity and grace. Pyongyang is not simply a city. It's a stage upon which the ideals of a nation play endlessly, day after day. But beneath that choreography lies something undeniably human, a quiet dignity in its people, a pride in its streets, a sense of belonging that transcends politics. And as dawn rises again over the Taedong River, the city wakes once more in perfect rhythm. The mist drifts over bridges, buses line up with precision, and the morning sun glows against the marble towers. In that moment, Pyongyang feels almost otherworldly, distant yet alive, mysterious yet strangely serene. In this first step of our journey, we've seen a city that reflects the very soul of North Korea, stoic, proud, and disciplined. But as we venture deeper into this land, beyond the marble and order, we'll uncover a different kind of beauty, one carved not by ideology, but by mountains, temples, and time itself. Because to truly understand this country, you must look not only at its monuments, but at the silence between them. Take the viewer deep into daily life in the capital-wide boulevards, futuristic subway stations, and synchronized parades. Highlight iconic landmarks like the Juche Tower, Arch of Triumph, and Mansudae Grand Monument. Contrast the grandeur of propaganda with the simplicity of ordinary people's lives. Beyond the city's grandeur and symmetry lies a quieter pulse, the true heart of North Korea, hidden in the everyday life of its people, in traditions untouched by time, and in places where ancient belief meets modern discipline. As we journey deeper into Pyongyang and its outskirts, we begin to see what few outsiders ever do: a nation that holds its spirit close, revealing it only in fragments, in whispers, in the small, human moments that exist between the monuments. The morning begins with a soft fog drifting across the Taedong River, wrapping the city in a delicate veil. Fishermen cast their lines in perfect stillness, their reflections trembling on the water's surface. The hum of bicycles and the faint rhythm of marching footsteps echo through the air. It feels like a scene from another era where time doesn't race forward, but lingers, as if waiting for permission to move. In the distance, the massive Workers' Party monument rises. Its three symbols, hammer, sickle, and brush, piercing the sky, representing workers, farmers, and intellectuals united under one vision. Yet beneath its towering presence, the streets are alive with ordinary life. Quiet, precise, yet beneath its towering presence, the streets are alive with ordinary life. Quiet, precise, yet undeniably human. We walk through Mansudae Hill, where the bronze statues of the great leaders dominate the skyline. Visitors approach with flowers, bowing in solemn respect. The vast square stretches endlessly, its stillness broken only by the fluttering of red flags in the wind. From here, Pyongyang feels like an open-air museum, meticulously preserved, polished, and watched over. But look closely, and you'll see a child tugging at her mother's sleeve, a student sketching in the shade, an old man sweeping the steps in silence. These fleeting moments tell a story beyond ideology, a story of devotion, duty, and quiet pride. Descending into the Pyongyang metro, the deeper you go, the more surreal it becomes. The air grows cooler, the light dimmer, until the tunnels open into vast, ornate stations that shimmer like underground cathedrals. Chandeliers hang from marble ceilings, and murals burst with color. Heroic workers, marching soldiers, blooming flowers of revolution. The trains, painted in soft greens and creams, glide smoothly past, carrying passengers who avoid eye contact but seem connected in an invisible rhythm. There's an elegance to it all, an art in the order, a poetry in the precision. It's not chaos that defines this city, but control, choreographed to perfection. Emerging above ground, we find ourselves in the Myohyang district, where Kim Il-sung's childhood home still stands. The modest house, surrounded by quiet gardens, is preserved as a national treasure. It's here that the story of modern North Korea begins, the birthplace of a revolution, now frozen in reverence. But around it, life carries on. Children walk to school, their laughter soft but real, and women in traditional hanbok dresses tend to flower beds near the roadside. It's in these simple sights that the human side of the nation reveals itself, disciplined, yes, but also deeply connected to the land and to one another. As the afternoon light shifts, the cityscape transforms again. At Kaesong Youth Park, families gather for a rare kind of leisure. Children ride small Ferris wheels, couples stroll hand in hand, and for a brief moment, the tension of the outside world disappears. The sounds of joy, laughter, chatter, the hum of music blend into the soft breeze. Even in a place defined by rules and restraint, life finds its way, like grass pushing through cracks in the pavement. One of the most hauntingly beautiful places lies at the edge of Pyongyang, the victorious Fatherland Liberation War Museum. Its halls are vast, echoing with the sounds of recorded marches and historical speeches. Tanks, planes, and relics stand preserved, narrating a story of resilience and defiance. But what strikes you most isn't the machinery, it's the silence in the eyes of the visitors, the quiet reverence of a people whose history is both pride and pain intertwined. In every exhibit, there's a sense of determination, the belief that endurance itself is a form of strength. As night falls, Pyongyang glows differently. The neon lights from the Science and Technology Center shimmer across the river, their reflections rippling in the dark waters. Bridges light up like ribbons of gold, and soft music drifts from a distance, patriotic but melodic. The skyline, defined by the sharp lines of the Ryugyong Hotel and the soft domes of museums, looks almost ethereal under the moonlight. This is a city that doesn't sleep in chaos, but in rhythm, a rhythm of unity, quiet purpose, and unspoken beauty. Standing at the riverbank, you realize that Pyongyang isn't just a capital, it's a performance, a vision of a world that time forgot to modernize, but also a world that hasn't forgotten how to dream. Beneath the rigidity lies resilience. Beneath the silence lies pride. And in that stillness, you can feel something almost spiritual, the heartbeat of a people who live not for the individual, but for the collective dream of their nation. Tomorrow, we leave the ordered streets of Pyongyang behind and journey north, toward the mountains that define North Korea's soul. There, in the shadows of sacred peaks and ancient temples, the land tells a story untouched by propaganda, a story carved by nature, whispered by monks, and guarded by time itself. Because to truly see North Korea, you must go where the silence deepens and the land begins to speak. Travel to North Korea's spiritual sites, Poyeon Temple, Singye Temple, and Kumgang-san's sacred monasteries. Narrate the peaceful silence of mountain temples that have stood for over 1,000 years, echoing chants of resilience through centuries of war and change. They call it the roof of Korea, the cradle of legends, and the birthplace of a nation's soul, Mount Paektu, a volcano so sacred that it's not just a mountain, but a symbol of purity, strength, and divine origin. Rising high on the border between North Korea and China, this snow-capped giant pierces the clouds at nearly 2,750 meters. For centuries, It has been revered not only as a geological wonder, but as a spiritual beacon, the place where heaven and earth seem to meet, and where the origins of the Korean people are said to dwell. As the journey north from Pyongyang begins, the landscapes shift dramatically. The structured order of the city fades into rolling hills, untouched forests, and winding roads that stretch endlessly through silence. Villages become smaller, humbler clusters of wooden homes with smoke curling gently from chimneys, where farmers tend their fields with quiet diligence. Life here feels elemental, bound to the soil and the seasons. The air grows thinner, the forests denser. Every kilometer feels like traveling not just through space, but back through time itself. Then, through the morning mist, the silhouette of Mount Paektu emerges, a towering mass of snow and rock that commands reverence from all who see it. At its summit lies Heaven Lake, a caldera of astonishing beauty, cradled in the heart of the volcano. Its waters are impossibly still, glowing with shades of sapphire and jade that shift with the light. Local lore says the lake was formed when a star fell from the heavens, a divine spark that gave life to the Korean people. To the people of North Korea, it's more than myth, it's destiny made visible, a sacred symbol woven into their collective identity. As the wind sweeps across the crater's edge, it carries a sound faint, like distant chanting. Pilgrims, soldiers, and travelers climb the winding trails to stand before the lake. Each step a meditation, each breath a prayer. Many believe that Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il drew strength and inspiration from this very place, their legacy forever tied to its summit. But politics aside, there's something undeniably spiritual here. You feel it in the stillness, in the way the clouds drift low across the peaks, in the reflection of the sky dancing on the lake's surface. It's as if nature itself guards this place, timeless and untouched. Descending from the summit, pine forests unfold below like an emerald sea. Streams cascade down volcanic rock, shimmering in the light, their waters so clear you can see every pebble beneath. The air is cool, scented with moss and earth. It feels pure, healing, as though every breath draws you closer to something eternal. Along the trails, you might pass local guides, their faces weathered by wind and time, speaking softly about legends that have been told for generations. One story tells of Dangun, the mythical founder of Korea, said to have descended from heaven to establish his kingdom near this very mountain thousands of years ago. Further down, small shrines dot the landscape, simple wooden structures adorned with offerings, candles, rice, flowers. These sacred sites are places of quiet reflection, where the divine and the earthly meet. Even in a land where faith is controlled and monitored, the reverence for Mount Paektu transcends all boundaries. It's a belief that belongs to the land itself, not to any system or ruler. The surrounding region is equally breathtaking. The Samjeon Plain, at the mountain's base, spreads out like a natural canvas, framed by forests and distant hills. During summer, fields bloom with wildflowers, in brilliant shades of yellow and violet. In winter, snow blankets the world in silence, transforming everything into a monochrome masterpiece. Life here moves with the rhythm of nature, slow, enduring, and harmonious. Villagers live in simplicity, their days marked by the rising and setting sun, their lives intertwined with the soil that sustains them. As dusk falls, the mountain glows gold under the sinking sun. Shadows stretch across the lake, and mist rises from the water like breath from the earth itself. Standing there, it's impossible not to feel small and yet deeply connected to something vast. The air hums with quiet power. The stillness feels alive. Mount Paektu isn't just a place, it's an experience that reaches into your soul, leaving you changed, even if you can't explain why. Night settles, and the stars begin to appear, one by one, until the entire sky becomes a blanket of light. Reflected in the still waters of Heaven Lake, they look close enough to touch. There's no sound but the wind, moving gently through the pines. In that moment, you understand why this mountain is sacred, why it is revered not just as a geological wonder, but as the beating heart of a people's spirit. Here, amid volcanic rock and endless sky, North Korea's most secret land reveals something unexpected. Beauty untainted, wild and eternal, beyond the politics, beyond the isolation. This is the North Korea few will ever see, a place of myth, majesty, and stillness beyond comprehension. As dawn approaches once more, the first light paints the mountain slopes in hues of rose and gold. Heaven Lake mirrors the sky, as if holding the heavens themselves within its depths. The sacred volcano sleeps quietly, ancient, patient, eternal. And as we descend from its summit, one truth becomes clear. In North Korea, silence speaks louder than words, and nature holds the deepest secrets of all. Next, we journey southward through Kaesong, a city that bridges two worlds, where ancient dynasties once ruled and history still breathes through stone walls and palace ruins. It's here, in the cradle of Korean civilization, that we begin to understand not just the mystery of this land, but the story of an entire people. Describe the haunting beauty of Mount Myohyang, the mysterious, fragrant mountain. From cascading waterfalls to hidden caves and temples, paint a visual masterpiece of mist-shrouded peaks and timeless legends. There's a strange feeling when you arrive in Kaesong, a sense that you're standing at a crossroads of history, where the past has been carefully preserved beneath a quiet, melancholic calm. This ancient city, nestled near the border with South Korea, feels frozen in time. Once the capital of the mighty Koryo dynasty, from which the very name Korea originates, Kaesong was a center of knowledge, trade, and royal power. Today, it stands as a living relic, a reminder of a glorious civilization that thrived long before the peninsula was divided. The first thing you notice is the silence. Streets are wider here, lined with aging buildings that have seen centuries pass. The rooftops curve gently in the traditional Korean style, and the air carries the faint scent of pine and distant rain. It's not the bustling, neon-lit Korea you see in travel magazines. It's something more intimate, more human, a place where every stone seems to whisper stories of philosophers, kings, and scholars who once walked these very roads. The Manwolde Palace ruins stretch across a quiet hillside, surrounded by green meadows and low walls of ancient stone. Centuries ago, this was one of the grandest palaces in East Asia, a complex of royal halls, courtyards, and ceremonial gates built during the Koryo dynasty in the 10th century. Now, the ruins lie beneath open sky, watched over by time and memory. Moss grows on broken pillars. Foundations trace the outlines of rooms that once echoed with the sound of royal music and silk robes brushing over polished floors. As you walk among them, you can almost hear the distant voices of courtiers and scholars discussing the fate of kingdoms. Nearby, the Koryo Museum sits within a former Confucian academy, its wooden beams darkened with age, its courtyards filled with ancient trees. Inside, relics of the Koryo period line, the exhibit's bronze Buddha statues, ceramic celadon bowls so delicate they look like captured moonlight, and scrolls of calligraphy written by long-forgotten masters. Each artifact tells a story of elegance, intellect, and faith. The Koryo people were known for their artistry and devotion to both Buddhism and scholarship, blending spirituality with sophistication in a way that defined their age. Standing before these relics, you sense the heartbeat of an empire that once unified an entire peninsula under one cultural soul. Outside the museum walls, Kaesong streets unfold in a pattern unchanged for centuries. Narrow lanes wind past traditional Hanok-style houses, with clay walls and tiled roofs, their doors framed with wooden lattices. Women hang laundry in the sunlight, while children chase one another through courtyards, laughter echoing softly through the calm. Time here feels slower, as though the modern world has respectfully chosen to step aside. There's beauty in that, a kind of peace that comes from remembering who you are, even as the world around you forgets. Then there's the Sonjuk Bridge, a small stone arch spanning a gentle stream. At first glance, it seems simple, modest even. But to the Korean people, this bridge carries a story of loyalty and virtue that has endured for over 600 years. Here, in 1392, the loyal minister Jung Mongju was assassinated for his refusal to betray the Koryo dynasty. His blood, they say, stained the stones of the bridge red, a mark that could never be washed away. Even today, locals claim to see a faint crimson hue when the rain falls. Standing on that bridge, you can almost feel his unbroken spirit lingering in the air, a silent guardian of Kaesong's honor. As evening approaches, the city glows with a soft golden hue. Lanterns light up along narrow streets, casting reflections on ancient walls. Farmers return from the fields with ox carts, and the distant sound of a temple bell drifts through the valley. The rhythm of Kaesong is steady, unhurried, a living poem of endurance. You begin to realize that this city, once the heart of an empire, still beats with quiet pride. Its people live in the shadow of history but carry its light within them. Not far from the city center, the tomb of King Kongmin lies nestled among rolling hills, guarded by stone warriors, scholars, and tigers. Carved centuries ago, the twin tombs of the king and his beloved queen are symbols of eternal love and royal devotion. The carvings are astonishingly detailed, their features worn but proud. The surrounding landscape is untouched, blanketed by wild grass that sways in the wind. It's easy to imagine the royal processions that once climbed these hills, carrying incense and prayers to honor their departed king. Here, the silence feels sacred, a conversation between the living and the dead that never truly ends. At night, Kaesong becomes a dream. The stars emerge above its ancient rooftops, and the moonlight turns the Sonjuk Bridge silver. Crickets hum in the grass, and the air cools with the scent of pine and earth. The city sleeps, but the past does not. It lingers in the walls, in the air, in the soul of every stone. Kaesong is more than a city. It's a memory that refuses to fade. And as dawn approaches, casting soft light across the misty hills, you begin to sense something powerful, that in this quiet, forgotten capital, the essence of Korea still breathes. It's not found in monuments or politics, but in the quiet dignity of a people who endure, remember, and rebuild. Take viewers on a cinematic road trip along the East Sea of Korea, showcasing coastal cities like Wonsan and Hamhung. Contrast their quiet fishing harbors and modern resorts, capturing how nature meets isolation, blue waters untouched by tourism, cliffs rising into eternal silence. They call it the Diamond Mountain not because it glitters with jewels, but because its beauty cuts through the soul like light through crystal. Mount Kumgang, in eastern North Korea, is one of the most breathtaking landscapes on Earth. For centuries, poets, monks, and painters have spoken of its magic, a place where mountains rise like sacred towers and waterfalls sing the language of eternity. Even in a land often shrouded in secrecy, Kumgang shines as a rare window into nature's unfiltered majesty. As you approach the region, the world begins to shift. The air grows cooler, scented with pine and fresh mist. The horizon starts to break apart into peaks, sharp and pale against the morning sky. There's a moment, as the sun rises behind them, when the mountains seem to glow from within, as if their veins were carved from light itself. It's easy to understand why the ancient Koreans named it Kumgang-san, the Mountain of Diamond, a symbol of purity, endurance, and divine energy. The road winds through lush forests, climbing steadily into the heart of this mythic landscape. Rivers rush alongside, carving silver ribbons through green valleys. Every turn reveals something new, a sheer granite wall, a hidden temple, a stream cascading down in 1,000 tiny rainbows. And yet, For all its grandeur, there's an uncanny stillness here. The forest speaks softly, the wind carries secrets. Even the birds seem to pause, as if humbled by what surrounds them. The heart of Mount Kumgang is divided into three poetic realms: the inner Kumgang, the outer Kumgang, and the sea Kumgang. Each one is a world of its own, a living masterpiece sculpted by time. The outer Kumgang is perhaps the most dramatic, with its soaring cliffs and roaring waterfalls. The Kuryong Falls, known as the Nine Dragons Waterfall, cascades from a height of 74 meters, surrounded by mist that dances like breath from another world. Legend says 9 dragons once guarded this mountain, and their spirits now flow through these waters, bringing life to everything they touch. Standing before it, you feel small, not in defeat, but in reverence. Nature here isn't just beautiful, it's sacred. The inner Kumgang, on the other hand, whispers rather than roars. Its trails weave through tranquil valleys filled with wildflowers and moss-covered stones. Streams glimmer beneath bridges of old wood. Hidden temples rest against the slopes, places of meditation where monks once spent their entire lives searching for enlightenment among the clouds. The Myohyang Temple, one of the most famous, was built nearly 1,000 years ago during the Goryeo dynasty. Though time and war have scarred it, the temple remains serene, its wooden pagodas and carved Buddhas watching over the mountain as they have for generations. Bells ring softly in the distance, echoing through the forest like the voice of the mountain itself. And then there's the sea Kumgang, the final realm, where cliffs meet the ocean. Here, the mountains drop suddenly into the East Sea, their jagged edges plunging into waves that crash with primal force. The contrast is stunning: stone and water locked in eternal conversation. On clear days, the sea mirrors the peaks, creating the illusion of mountains floating in the sky. It's a place where heaven and earth seem to touch, and you can't help but wonder if this is what the world looked like when it was still being formed. For Koreans, Mount Kumgang is more than just a destination. It's a symbol of spiritual unity, a place that belongs to the heart of the entire peninsula. In the past, it drew thousands of pilgrims from both north and south, walking side by side through its valleys, sharing awe, prayer, and silence. Even today, despite barriers and boundaries, Kumgang remains a dream of reconciliation, a reminder that nature doesn't recognize human divisions. The mountain stands untouched, beyond politics, beyond time. As dusk falls, the peaks begin to fade into deep blue shadows. The setting sun paints the granite walls in gold, then crimson, then violet, until they disappear into the night. The air cools, and the forest hums with life: cicadas, owls, the rustle of unseen creatures. Somewhere high above, a temple bell tolls once more, and the sound lingers long after the echo fades. You stand there, surrounded by darkness and silence, feeling both infinitesimal and infinite. Mount Kumgang teaches a quiet truth: that beauty is not found in perfection, but in endurance. In the way stone withstands time, in the way water shapes the hardest rock, in the way light returns every morning to touch the same peaks again and again. It's not just a mountain, it's a mirror reflecting the soul of Korea itself. Resilient, mysterious, eternal. Unveil Mount Kumgang, Diamond Mountains, the crown jewel of Korean nature. Use emotional storytelling to convey how this landscape glows like crystal at dawn. Waterfalls, temples carved into stone, and trails lost in mist. There's a place in North Korea where the mountains meet the sea, where waves crash beneath silent cliffs, and where the country reveals a face rarely seen by the outside world. Wonsan, once a humble fishing village, now stands as a city of contrast, a mixture of military secrecy and coastal serenity, tradition and ambition. For a nation so often closed off, Wonsan feels like a rare window, a glimpse into the North Korea that dreams of sunlight, ocean air, and connection. The story of Wonsan begins with its setting, the East Sea, where crystal waters stretch endlessly, mirroring the sky in hues of turquoise and silver. From the moment you arrive, you feel the rhythm of the sea shaping everything. The people, the food, the atmosphere. Fishing boats sway in the harbor, gulls cry overhead, and a salty breeze weaves through narrow streets lined with markets and pastel-colored homes. It feels almost Mediterranean, if not for the sharp mountain silhouettes that rise behind the coast, guarding it like ancient sentinels. Wonsan is known as the gateway to Mount Kumgang, but it's also much more a symbol of what North Korea might one day become, the Wonsan Kalma Coastal Tourist Zone. An ambitious project announced by the government was designed to transform this quiet city into a global resort destination. Massive hotels gleam along the shoreline, new boulevards curve around the bay, and amusement parks and marinas now sit where once there was little more than sand and stone. Yet beneath this ambition lies something genuine, a yearning to share beauty that has long been hidden from the world. Walk along the Wonsan Pier at sunrise, and the entire city seems to hold its breath. The sea glows with a golden sheen, fishing boats drift lazily, and the air hums with quiet optimism. Locals gather to watch the horizon ignite in color, a moment of peace that feels universal, unbound by borders or politics. Not far away, children play along the beach, their laughter carried by the wind, echoing against the concrete walls of the newly built resorts. It's a surreal blend of innocence and aspiration. One of Wonsan's most enchanting spots is Songdawan Beach, a long, graceful curve of white sand and calm waves. Once reserved for the country's elite and visiting dignitaries, it now serves as a public escape for families, students, and travelers. The sea here is shallow and warm, ideal for swimming during the summer months. Behind the beach, pine forests rise gently toward the hills, filling the air with their resinous scent. When the sunlight filters through the trees and dances across the water, the entire bay seems to shimmer as though caught between dream and reality. Beyond the beaches lies Ulim Waterfall, one of North Korea's natural treasures. Hidden deep within the mountains north of Wonsan, it's a place where nature reclaims its voice. The road narrows, the trees thicken, and then you hear it, the thunder of cascading water echoing through the forest. The falls plunge dramatically into a crystal-clear pool, surrounded by moss-covered cliffs, creating a scene that feels untouched by time. Local legends tell of travelers who once washed here before long journeys, believing the water carried good fortune and clarity of mind. Standing before the torrent, it's easy to understand why it's as if the earth itself breathes here. But perhaps Wonsan's most fascinating layer lies beneath its surface, its history. For centuries, it was a crossroads of culture and trade. During the Japanese occupation, it served as a port city connecting Korea to the wider world. After the Korean War, it became a strategic military hub, and today, traces of that dual legacy remain. Naval ships share the harbor with fishing boats, and sleek new constructions rise beside concrete blocks built decades ago. It's a reminder that Wonsan, like North Korea itself, carries the scars of its past even as it builds toward an uncertain future. At night, the city transforms again. The sea grows still, reflecting the faint lights of the skyline. Music drifts from seaside cafes, and the hum of generators replaces the sound of waves. In the distance, Mount Kumgang glows faintly under the moonlight, a ghostly outline beyond the hills. For a moment, the barriers of the outside world seem far away. Here, under the vast Korean sky, life feels both fragile and enduring, a quiet heartbeat echoing across the bay. Wonsan is more than a destination. It's a contradiction wrapped in beauty. It's the echo of what once was, and the whisper of what might still come. You sense it in the calm of its beaches, in the laughter of children chasing waves, and in the silent resolve of the mountains that cradle it. There's hope here, subtle, persistent, unspoken. As dawn rises again, the sea glitters like polished glass. The boats push off, The streets stir awake, and another day begins in this coastal city caught between isolation and aspiration. Wonsan stands not as a secret, but as a promise that even in the most unexpected places, beauty refuses to be silenced. Step into Kaesong, the ancient capital of the Goryeo dynasty. Narrate its scholarly spirit, stone walls, and Confucian heritage. Explore the Sanjuk Bridge and Goryeo Museum, revealing how the city whispers stories of unity, wisdom, and ancient civilization. There's a city in North Korea where time doesn't move forward, it lingers. Stone gates still guard the ancient roads. Pagodas rise from the mist, and whispers of dynasties long gone drift through the air. This is Kaesong, the ancient capital of the Goryeo dynasty, a city that carries more than 1,000 years of memory. If Pyongyang is the heart of modern power, Kaesong is the soul of Korea's past, a living museum of tradition, philosophy, and quiet endurance. The first thing that strikes you about Kaesong is its atmosphere. Unlike the rigid order of Pyongyang or the coastal openness of Wonsan, Kaesong feels intimate, almost timeless. The streets are lined with low-roofed Hanok-style houses, built from weathered wood and stone. The scent of pine and earth lingers in the air, and as the morning fog rolls through the valley, the entire city seems to exhale. Here, the past isn't locked away in history books. It lives, breathes, and watches from every carved beam and cobblestone path. Kaesong once served as the capital of the Goryeo Kingdom, the dynasty that gave Korea its name from the 10th to the 14th century. During that era, it was a thriving center of culture, trade, and Buddhist learning. Scholars, monks, and traders from across Asia passed through its gates, leaving behind art, ideas, and relics that shaped the soul of the Korean peninsula. Even today, the remnants of that golden age remain scattered across the city like precious fragments of memory. Among them, the Kaesong Namdaemun Gate stands proudly, a symbol of resilience. Built in the 14th century, it's one of the last surviving gates from the city's ancient fortress walls. Its roof, curved and elegant, rises against the skyline like a signature of the past. Beneath it, the stone base bears the marks of centuries' scars from wars, weather, and time. When you stand before it, you feel the weight of everything this city has endured. It's more than architecture. It's testimony. Nearby lies the Sunggyungguan, the old Confucian academy where scholars once studied the teachings of virtue, harmony, and respect. Its courtyards are quiet now, filled with the soft sound of wind moving through old pines. Wooden lecture halls and stone altars remain perfectly preserved, as if waiting for the next generation of thinkers to return. Every corner seems to breathe with philosophy, the belief that knowledge isn't just for power, but for balance between people and nature. One of Kaesong's most sacred places lies just beyond the city, the royal tombs of the Goryeo kings, particularly the tomb of King Kongmin. Surrounded by rolling hills and ancient pines, the tombs are protected by stone statues of warriors and tigers, symbols of strength and guardianship. When sunlight filters through the trees and falls on these silent sentinels, you can almost feel the presence of the kings who once ruled a unified land. It's a moment both haunting and humbling, a reminder of how empires fade, but legacy endures. Kaesong is also known for something simpler, yet deeply cultural: its food. The city's most famous dish, Kaesong-style dumplings, songpyeon, are said to be lighter, more delicate, and made with subtle care and art form as much as a meal. Traditional restaurants serve them on brass dishes, surrounded by side plates of kimchi, radish, and bean sprouts. Meals here aren't rushed. They're rituals, rooted in respect for balance and refinement. Even the presentation carries centuries of etiquette passed down through generations. And then, there's the Kaesong Industrial Complex, a rare modern chapter in this ancient city's story. For years, it stood as a fragile bridge between North and South Korea, a joint economic zone where workers from the North collaborated with companies from the South. It was a place where walls momentarily lowered, and cooperation replaced division. Though it's silent now, The complex remains a symbol of what's possible, a glimpse into a future that many still dream of. Wandering through Kaesong, it's impossible to ignore the stillness. The pace of life here feels slower, almost meditative. Locals walk in measured steps, shopkeepers greet visitors with gentle nods, and children play quietly in courtyards surrounded by ancient walls. At dusk, the city takes on a golden hue as lanterns flicker to life and the mountains beyond fade into shadow. The skyline glows not with neon or steel, but with candlelight and the faint shimmer of history. In many ways, Kaesong feels like a bridge between eras, between cultures, between divided worlds. It embodies a question that echoes throughout the Korean peninsula. Can the wisdom of the past guide the hope of the future? Perhaps that's why the city holds such power. It doesn't try to impress with grandeur, it moves you with grace. Every street corner whispers the same message. Peace, like culture, must be built slowly, stone by stone. And when the mist rolls over the hills at dawn, enveloping the temples and gates in silver light, Kaesong looks almost otherworldly, like a vision suspended between memory and myth. It's a place where history still walks, where silence tells stories louder than words, and where beauty thrives quietly, untouched by time. As we leave Kaesong behind, the road bends north toward the towering slopes of Mount Kumgang, a sacred landscape of crystal peaks, emerald valleys, and ethereal waterfalls that Koreans have called the Diamond Mountain for centuries. Next, we journey into its heart, a realm where nature becomes poetry itself. Show the humble life in villages and farmlands, rice fields stretching into the horizon, oxen plowing the earth, and locals working in harmony with nature. Capture the dignity and simplicity of rural existence in a world rarely seen by outsiders. In the heart of North Korea, far from the grandeur of Pyongyang and the mystique of ancient Kaesong, lies a side of the country that few have ever seen: the countryside, where time slows to the rhythm of the seasons, and life moves in harmony with the land. Here, among rolling hills, rice terraces, and endless skies, you'll find a world untouched by modern chaos. A world that reveals the quiet, human pulse of North Korea. At dawn, the mist lifts gently over the fields, revealing farmers already at work. The sound of wooden carts creaking down dirt roads, the rhythmic splash of water in the paddies, and the distant hum of a tractor together form a melody older than memory. In this landscape, every movement feels purposeful, every gesture deeply connected to survival and community. There's something profoundly grounding about it, as if the people and the earth share the same heartbeat. The countryside here is vast, stretching across mountain valleys, plains, and riverbanks. Villages are small clusters of earthen houses, their tiled roofs glistening with dew, surrounded by neatly planted fields of rice, maize, and soybeans. It's not luxury that defines life here, but order and resilience. Every patch of land is cultivated. Every stream carefully managed. And yet, amid the discipline, there's beauty: wildflowers growing between stones, children running barefoot through fields, laughter echoing across the hillsides. One of the most striking aspects of rural North Korea is how self-contained it feels. Local communities rely almost entirely on themselves. Farmers tend collective plots, women dry peppers and corn along stone walls. Elders weave baskets or repair tools by hand. The entire scene feels like a return to another century, not because of neglect, but because of deep-rooted tradition. For these people, the land is not just sustenance, it's heritage. Each harvest is a sacred exchange between nature and effort, discipline and devotion. Traveling deeper into the countryside, the roads wind through landscapes of quiet majesty. The Gangwon province, with its green valleys and misty peaks, offers some of the most breathtaking views. Streams tumble down forested slopes, forming clear pools where locals wash clothes or gather water. Wooden bridges cross over rivers that shimmer under the morning sun. Every corner feels like a painting, serene, minimal, yet powerful in its simplicity. In some villages, you'll still find traditional Korean homes, their curved eaves and mud walls standing strong against the seasons. These Hanok-style houses are often arranged around a central courtyard, where families gather to eat, talk, and rest. Smoke rises gently from chimneys as rice cooks over open fires. The air smells of wood, earth, and the faint sweetness of crops drying in the sun. Inside, floors are warmed by ondol heating, an ancient system that channels heat beneath the floor, a quiet reminder of how Korean ingenuity has long been shaped by the need for balance and comfort in a harsh climate. Religion and ritual still play a quiet role here, though less visible than in the grand temples of Myohyang or Kumgang. Villagers often pay respect to their ancestors through small household shrines or simple offerings. During planting and harvest festivals, people gather to sing folk songs, dance in circles, and share homemade rice wine. It's a side of Korea that speaks to joy, gratitude, and endurance moments of unity that transcend ideology or isolation. The children of these regions walk miles to attend school, often in modest buildings where teachers use chalkboards and worn textbooks. Yet their curiosity is limitless. They learn about the land they live on, its rivers, mountains, and wildlife. In their eyes, the future is not a faraway concept. It's the next growing season, the next sunrise. Their smiles, unguarded and bright, remind you that even in a world closed off from much of the outside, hope still finds a way to shine. Nature dominates everything here. The rural landscapes of North Korea are surprisingly diverse, from golden plains near the Yalu River to the dense forests of Ryanggang province. In spring, wild cherry blossoms cover the hills in clouds of pink and white. Summer brings rains that fill the rivers and turn the fields a dazzling green. By autumn, the forests ignite with red and amber leaves, and in winter, snow blankets the countryside in complete stillness, transforming it into a silent realm of purity. There's also an unexpected serenity in the isolation. Without neon lights or digital noise, the nights here are astonishingly dark. The sky opens up into a galaxy of stars, unpolluted and bright. Villagers gather around fires, telling stories or singing folk ballads passed down through generations. It's a world that moves slowly, but not aimlessly. Every moment feels earned. Every breath, a connection to something ancient. And yet, beneath this stillness, there's a quiet strength. The people here have lived through hardships that would test anyone's spirit. Harsh winters, food shortages, uncertainty. But in their endurance lies a kind of beauty that's rare in the modern world. The ability to find meaning in simplicity, to create warmth from scarcity, and to live fully within the rhythm of nature. In many ways, this countryside is the real heart of North Korea, far from the spectacle of Pyongyang or the symbolism of the DMZ. Here, humanity reveals itself in the purest form, in the weathered hands of a farmer sowing seeds, in the laughter of children chasing dragonflies, in the quiet dignity of those who rise each day to greet the land anew. As the sun sets over the distant hills, the fields glow gold, and the wind carries the scent of earth and pine. It's a moment of profound stillness, one that reminds you that beauty doesn't always need to be loud. Sometimes it whispers. Next, we journey toward one of the most haunting and paradoxical regions on Earth, the demilitarized zone, a place frozen in time where nature has reclaimed what humans divided. There, between watchtowers and silence, we'll uncover a world that exists between peace and tension, a fragile borderland that tells the story of an entire nation's divided soul. Take viewers to the DMZ, Demilitarized Zone, the most guarded border on Earth. Explore its paradoxical beauty, untouched wildlife, thriving in silence between barbed wire and watchtowers. Contrast a vision with the shared humanity that still connects north and south. There is a line across the Korean peninsula, that the world rarely sees a border so charged with history and silence that it feels like stepping into a place between worlds. The Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, is one of the most fortified boundaries on Earth, separating North and South Korea. But beyond the barbed wire and the watchtowers lies something unexpected, a wilderness that has reclaimed the scars of war. This is a place where danger and beauty coexist, where history sleeps beneath a sea of grass, and where the world's most divided land is paradoxically one of its most peaceful. At first glance, the DMZ feels tense, frozen in time. Guard posts stand like sentinels, and flags from both sides rise defiantly toward the sky. The silence is heavy, almost tangible, broken only by the distant cry of a bird or the rustle of wind through the trees. But as you look closer, something remarkable appears: deer grazing in open fields, cranes gliding effortlessly above the marshes, and wildflowers blooming where soldiers once marched. Over the decades, nature has quietly taken back what conflict abandoned. The 250-kilometer strip of land that cuts across Korea has become an accidental sanctuary, a living museum of resilience. Because human presence is limited, the DMZ has turned into one of the most biodiverse ecosystems in Asia. Black bears, rare cranes, and even Amur leopards have been spotted roaming freely. Forests that were once bombed and burned now stand tall and green, whispering in the wind as if nature herself has chosen to heal what humanity divided. The most surreal aspect of the DMZ is how perfectly it captures the contrast of North Korea's stillness and strength, danger and beauty, conflict and calm. On one side, North Korean soldiers patrol with rigid precision, their uniforms crisp, their expressions unreadable. On the other, South Korean guards stand equally poised, their eyes fixed on the horizon. Between them lies just 4 kilometers of emptiness, a place no one truly controls. For decades, this narrow strip has witnessed both heartbreak and hope. Families separated by war have stood here, just meters apart, waving to loved ones they may never touch again. In those moments, the DMZ transforms from a symbol of division into a human story, a place where the longing for connection overpowers political walls. There's a deep melancholy here, but also a quiet dignity in the persistence of those who dream of unity. The joint security area at Panmunjom is perhaps the most haunting spot of all. This is where soldiers from both sides stand face to face, separated by nothing but a thin concrete line. The blue conference buildings, painted the color of the United Nations, mark a fragile truce, not peace, not war, but something suspended in between. Inside, the air feels heavy, as if the walls themselves remember every tense negotiation, every handshake, every moment that almost changed history. Yet beyond the politics, the DMZ tells another kind of story, one of reclamation. When you look past the fences, you see forests untouched for decades. You hear the calls of rare birds echoing over wetlands where no machines disturb the stillness. This stretch of land, forbidden to humans, has become a refuge for more than 5,000 plant and animal species. What was once a battlefield is now a sanctuary, proof that life finds a way, even in the shadows of destruction. There's a haunting poetry to it, the idea that nature thrives where humans fear to tread. It's as if the earth herself decided to protect this fragile space, reminding us that even in the most divided places, harmony is still possible. Each tree that grows, each animal that survives here, feels like an act of quiet defiance, a whisper from the land saying, "I will heal, even if you do not." But the DMZ is not only a relic of the past, it's also a mirror reflecting the present, the tension, the hope, and the yearning for unity that still define the Korean peninsula. To stand here is to feel the weight of history pressing down, yet also to witness life's incredible ability to endure. In some ways, this is North Korea's greatest paradox, a place that represents division, yet holds within it the most pristine unity between land and life. It's a reminder that peace doesn't always begin in grand speeches or political treaties sometimes. It begins quietly, in the rustle of leaves, in the flight of a bird across a forbidden sky. As the sun sets over the DMZ, the fields turn gold and shadows stretch long across the silent land. From afar, the mountains of both Koreas glow under the same fading light. The wind carries across the border, touching both sides without permission. For a brief, fragile moment, it feels as if the world has forgotten its divisions, as if the land remembers what the people have lost. The DMZ is not just a line, it's a wound that healed in its own way, through the persistence of nature and the quiet endurance of time. It stands as a living paradox, born from conflict, sustained by silence, and reclaimed by life itself. And as we leave this hauntingly beautiful no man's land behind, we journey toward our final chapter, where mountains, oceans, and temples converge into one truth. A reflection on what North Korea truly is. Not just a nation of contrasts, but a land of hidden hearts and untold harmony, waiting patiently to be seen and understood. End the journey with a reflection on resilience, culture, and the eternal heartbeat of the Korean people. From ancient chants to modern architecture, from sacred mountains to hidden temples, emphasize how North Korea remains a land of mystery, discipline, and untouched beauty. Leave the audience in awe, feeling they've witnessed something few ever will. Beneath the cold winds that sweep across the Korean peninsula lies a story far deeper than the headlines ever tell, a story of survival, strength, and silent beauty. North Korea, a land often shrouded in mystery and isolation, holds within its borders landscapes so untouched and traditions so carefully preserved that they seem to exist outside of time itself. From the ancient rhythms of temple bells echoing in mist-covered valleys to the stoic resilience of people who live by the mountains and seas, this final journey takes us to the heart of hidden North Korea, a place where the soul of the land beats quietly beneath its veiled surface. As the dawn breaks over the sacred Mount Kumgang, the Diamond Mountain, its jagged peaks catch the morning light like blades of crystal. Waterfalls tumble down its cliffs, and clouds cling to its edges like drifting silk. For centuries, poets and monks have described this place as heaven on earth, a bridge between the human and the divine. Here, time slows. The mist moves like breath. The world feels perfectly still. It's a place of reflection, not just of the landscape, but of the nation itself, a reminder that even within walls, beauty endures. The locals call Mount Kumgang a mountain of spirit and sorrow, for it lies close to the border, a place where families once crossed paths, where songs and prayers were shared before silence fell. Every gust of wind here seems to carry whispers of memory, the echo of a mother's lullaby, the laughter of children, the words of love never spoken again. But beyond the sadness, there's a strength, a resilience rooted in nature's quiet persistence. The forests here bloom in defiance of time, just as the people of this land endure through the weight of history. Traveling westward, the landscape shifts into rolling plains and ancient rice paddies, where farmers bend under the golden light of harvest. Their movements are deliberate and rhythmic, a dance passed down through generations. The people of North Korea live closely with their land, often in simplicity, guided by tradition and the seasons. In villages tucked between hills, you can still see children playing in the dirt roads, elders mending nets by the shore, and women washing clothes in mountain streams. Life here moves with the rhythm of the earth, slow, steady, and deeply human. Further north, the Chilbosan Mountains rise in vibrant hues of red and gold, especially in autumn when the forests ignite with color. These peaks hold monasteries carved into cliffs, places where Buddhist monks retreat from the world to seek silence and enlightenment. Their chants rise softly through the pine forests, merging with the wind and the cries of distant hawks. The isolation of these temples mirrors the isolation of the nation itself, yet There is peace here, an almost sacred stillness that feels untouched by time. As night falls across the countryside, the skies open into a sea of stars. In a land where light is scarce, the heavens appear brighter, more alive. The Milky Way stretches across the dark horizon, mirrored faintly in rivers and lakes. There's something humbling in the way the stars burn above the mountains, timeless, indifferent, and eternal. They've watched this land through centuries of peace and pain, change and continuity, and still, they shine. One of the most profound experiences in North Korea lies not in its grand monuments or secretive cities, but in its untouched silence. It's in the rustle of trees along empty roads, in the quiet breath of fog drifting across valleys, in the gentle hum of life that persists behind walls of mystery. It's a silence that speaks of patience, of endurance, of a nation still searching for its voice. Yet, beneath the surface, hope flickers like a candle in the dark. It's seen in the eyes of a child learning beneath a tree, in the laughter that breaks through during a village festival, in the songs sung softly at dusk. There's a humanity here complex, unspoken, and undeniably real. It's a reminder that, behind every image of power or restraint, there are people who dream, love, and endure just like anywhere else. To witness North Korea through its landscapes is to see beyond the politics, to glimpse a land where nature still rules, where mountains are guardians of time, and rivers carry stories untold. It's a world of opposites, both harsh and gentle, distant yet deeply human. The silence that covers its valleys isn't emptiness. It's the sound of history breathing. As our journey nears its end, we return to the coast, where the East Sea crashes against black volcanic cliffs. Waves slam into stone, breaking into silver mist under a rising moon. The water glows faintly, lit by the stars, as if the universe itself is painting its farewell. There's an undeniable majesty here, raw, untamed, and eternal. It reminds us that even in the most closed corners of the world, the forces of Earth still speak a universal language, one of wonder, mystery, and endurance. North Korea is not an easy place to understand. It's a country of dualities, hidden yet revealed through its nature, distant yet achingly close through its humanity. To truly see it is to accept that beauty and sorrow can coexist, that even in silence, there is song. As the final light fades behind Mount Kumgang, and the land disappears into shadow, one truth becomes clear. This is not just a land of barriers and unknowns, but a place of unbroken spirit, a reminder that no matter how high the walls rise, the sky above them is boundless and free. As the final light fades over Mount Kumgang, and the waves of the East Sea whisper against forgotten shores, we leave behind a land of paradox, cold yet tender, distant yet deeply human. North Korea, a place where silence holds centuries of untold stories, where beauty survives in the stillness of time. Beyond its barriers, there exists something eternal, a quiet resilience, a heartbeat of the earth that never stops. The land, the people, the spirit, all remind us that even in the most hidden corners of our world, the pulse of life endures. This was North Korea like you've never seen, a rare glimpse into the unseen, the sacred, and the eternal. Until next time, keep exploring the places the world has forgotten, because sometimes the most silent lands tell the loudest stories. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed exploring Prague as much as I enjoyed guiding you through it. If you found this travel guide helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more beautiful destinations from around the world. Got a favorite spot in Prague? Drop it in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, safe travels and see you in the next video.